Hello, everybody, and welcome to another live edition of the Market Down Podcast. My name is Nick Cummings, joined this week by Danny Hernandez, Chad Big Bad Johnson, and James Casanti. Full crew once again back together here to review another edition of AEW Dynamite, this time on a Tuesday. I'm not entirely sure why. I forgot to look what's running on TBS tomorrow. It might be the playoffs. I'll double check that in a second. But we have much more important things to talk about, namely the aforementioned AEW Dynamite and Title Tuesday. There were 4 title matches tonight. All of them were, I thought, great. And we are going to start with the main event this evening, which was Jon Moxley versus Hangman Adam Page for the AEW World Championship. A lot came out of this match, so I'm kind of just going to breeze through what happened because there's so much that happened afterwards that we really need to get to. The match, before the match even started, Hangman took the fight to Mox during his entrance, hit him with a suplex on the cement and a moonsault from the crowd, I think through where like the Zamboni probably comes in, somewhere around there, to the floor, which was really cool. It reminded me of Seth Rollins jumping off that thing at Payback all those years ago.
That thing.
Yeah, they roll through the crowd during the entirety of the picture-in-picture. Mox gets cut open. Eventually, they make their way back over towards the ring. Mox takes control with a tope suicida, and the bell, I think, finally rings because it was still during the picture-in-picture. But then Hangman quickly takes back control by tossing Mox into the steps. And quite frankly, he kept it for a while until after a kip up, Hangman starts posing and Mox hits him with a sweet cutter. After that, Mox goes for an armbar. Hangman breaks it up with the ropes. They're on the apron. Mox goes for a pile driver, but Hangman is able to reverse that attempt and hit a dead eye on the apron, and we go back to commercial. Meanwhile, while all this is happening, MJF is up in his skybox again, but right before they go into the second commercial, they show that he is no longer up there. Foreshadowing. Towards the end of the match, there was some more back and forth. Mox is able to take a little bit more control, and both men nail each other with lariats, one after the other. Hangman's was actually really cool. Moxley blocked it, and Hangman turned around and just nailed him with a left-handed one and sent Mox into the corner. Mox comes out of the corner with the King Kong lariat, and they're both down. And here's where things start to get interesting, for lack of a better phrase. The referee, who I believe was Paul Turner, immediately jumps on Hangman and calls Doc Sampson, the ringside doctor, over to the ring to check on Hangman. Then, so Doc Sampson checks on him, and after about maybe 20 seconds, maybe more, they end up ringing the bell. Paul Turner tells Justin Roberts that the match is over, and Moxley retains via medical stoppage. And everything kind of goes haywire from here, because as of this moment, and we're going to continue to keep an eye out for any breaking news, but it seemed, at least to me, this was a shoot injury. They didn't show Hangman for quite a while, especially not up close. After the match was called, they sent the broadcast back up to the booth where Excalibur, Tony, and Taz didn't seem like they knew what to do. They ended up running down the next week's card for Dynamite, as well as Friday's card for Rampage. You heard a bit of a cowboy shit chant during all of that. And apparently Hangman was stretchered out, as far as we know. Like I said, they didn't show him at all. So they kill some time. Moxley eventually picks up a mic, and he does his best to send his well wishes to Hangman. Obviously, nobody, Mox most included, nobody wants to see that happen to a wrestler. So Mox, like I said, sends his well wishes and his prayers to Hangman, as do we all. And then Mox turns his attention to MJF, saying, while he normally doesn't deal with MJF's, talking his shit and everything, this one kind of pissed him off because it involved Regal, and he still got some energy, and he still got some time because the Yankees didn't go into extra innings, which I thought was a good line. So he calls MJF out. MJF comes out with a ref, and it looks like he's going to cash in his chip, but as the bell is about to ring, he decides against it and rolls out of the ring, goes to the top of the ramp, to the announce desk, and grabs a mic. He says that when he cashes in, he doesn't want Mox at 50% or after a match. He wants Mox at 100%, so there's no doubts or excuses. And he challenges Mox to a match at Full Gear, saying for the first time in his miserable life, he's going to earn something. Mox says the only thing that MJF is going to earn is his heel in his mouth, his fist in his face, and so on and so forth. So that was a lot. I know I just broke down like a billion different things, and there's like a million different ways to go with this. And obviously the MJF stuff has to do with that fantastic promo from the middle of the show, which we will get to later. But James, I'm going to start with you. I guess if you want to start with the Hangman thing, like I said, I think this was a shoot. It certainly didn't seem like a work. I don't think they would have been so rattled and done their best to avoid showing him were it not.
I agree. I think unfortunately this is legit. We are already seeing wrestlers on Twitter sending out their best wishes to Hangman, Big E being one of them, always a class act.
And he can obviously relate to
absolutely
in-ring injury.
Absolutely. The camera work is a big indicator. They did everything they could to not focus on Hangman. The scrambling is a big indicator. Everything felt very much like a pivot. Everything felt like a pivot. Everything felt like, all right, we have unfortunately 8 minutes left of TV time. Let's figure out how to make the most of it. They did, I think, the best they could under the circumstances. I'm terrified for Hangman. I'm looking at a video from after the main event that was a fan shot, and he's not moving. He's not moving any of his limbs. They are all on him. They are working on his neck, and it's scary. And look, we've talked about it before. This is professional wrestling. It isn't ballet. It's not as physical as ballet, but it's just as scary sometimes. And you never want to see anyone get hurt. Hangman is a young guy. Mox talked about it. He's a dad. He's a husband. He's more than a wrestler. So no matter what happens from here, we just hope he's okay. And if this is a legit injury, which all accounts it is, let's hope it's not that serious and it's a quick recovery.
Yeah, I haven't seen a replay, so I don't know what happened. And just quickly looking for any update on him. Obviously, all the Reddit and Twitter doctors are out. And I mean, look, this could be anything from a stinger to him being knocked out cold. Like, we generally have no idea at this time. Like I said, we'll do our best to keep an eye on things. But James, the match itself, though, up until that point was going pretty fucking good. I really liked it. It was really hard hitting. It was a lot of fun. And then, obviously that happened, but everything after the injury was also really good too. We have this new, I don't want to say new, but this really indecisive and almost unsure of himself MJF laying it down and being like, no, I'm gonna do this for real.
No, absolutely. This is there's a lot of moving parts here with a lot of very interesting characters. Getting away from the injury, which, like I said, God willing, this is a non-issue next week. Hangman comes into work totally okay. You have an MJF who has always been a very multi-layered character, continuing to just show a different facet of himself. He is a sympathetic villain who we like. I mean, I don't. He's a piece of shit from Long Island, but like, he's. There we go again with Long Island. They did. But it is what it is. A very interesting new character, or new character motivation and growth from him. You have Moxley, who is defending his mentor's honor. William Regal, who I'm sure we are going to get into that promo, but he is stuck in the middle and he is now paying for, I guess, the decisions of his past, or his group is going to be paying for the decisions of his past. There's just so much at play here. The match itself was great. It was hard hitting before the bell even rung. And I expect nothing less from these two stars of this caliber. Now, obviously, we've talked about it, the injury, it is what it is. this is just going to make the eventual rematch that much sweeter, because again, these are two of AEW's biggest stars, two of their world champions, and the story going into this was that they've never really fought each other. They've never really been able to beat one another the right way. Like, there was a ladder match, there was a tag match, but this was their first one-on-one match. And now, unfortunately, with this ending, you know, there still is, it was cut short, but they still don't have a real winner in my book. Moxley won the night, but did he win?
He won, but he didn't beat Hangman.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yep.
Beautifully put. Beautifully put. So it's going to be another interesting thing going down the line when the rematch does happen, when Hangman is healthy enough to do it. So I'm very much trying to look at the silver lining here, which is hard when someone gets injured. But the match was great. It was brutal, but in the right ways. Hey, look, Moxley's bleeding again. All is right with the world. And I'm looking forward to what comes next out of this with MJF, with Hangman, with the Dark Order, with Regal, and with Moxley. And of course, I want to know how Bryan Danielson fits into all of this, which is poorly, but somewhere, because I am desperate.
Yeah, honestly, wildly enough, this was one of the more like cohesive episodes we had in a while, where almost everything bled into everything else. There was very little that was standalone.
We talked about it. It was Moxley that was bleeding, nothing else.
He bled onto everything else, but
quite literally. So it was really nice to see, and obviously, the through line was mostly the BCC. So it's cool that they kind of have their fingers in everything. Danny, I'll go to you next, because this match was awesome, like I said, and I'm curious to see what you think about MJF's current motivations and everything.
Oh my God, I love MJF's current motivations, and I that's the main thing I actually wanted to talk about. But real quick, I hope Hangman's okay, because I'm about to make a joke at his expense. But dude, the summer was the time when everyone was getting injured. Hangman, you're so late to the party. Like, get with the program, dude. But anyway,
wait, I will say, low key, if he's going to be gone for a little bit, can you imagine him, the Bucks, and Kenny all coming back at the same time?
Oh, that would be whatever.
Also, such a hater. He's such a goddamn hater.
I don't hate anyone in that group. They're all great. But Rev, not to call your host in the buddies, but you didn't introduce Grayson, who's clearly right there.
Oh yeah, no, I literally just saw her, so I'm sorry about that, Grace.
That's okay. She's a little sick, so she's getting all the attention in the world right now. But anyway, MJF is fantastic. Oh my God. So that's one thing where, as much as this did feel like a shoot, what MJF said didn't feel like a shoot. That felt like it was always supposed to happen. I don't think, did MJF leave the balcony watching the match before the injury happened or after?
It was right before the second commercial, so yes, it was well before.
Okay.
It was well before the.
So yeah, part of me felt like this was always going to happen. Maybe the match, because I thought at first, I wasn't paying the most attention to like how Hangman got hurt. So I was like, oh, this is just a weird way to protect them so that they can table this for another time. And then if it is a little bit real, I could see it being like when Bryan and Randy Orton got cut short because they thought Bryan was injured, and then it led to a better match down the line.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I think this will take more time than that because we don't know how long Hangman's going to be out for. But so I think that can be a big thing, because I do want a conclusive finish between these two, because that does feel like one of the biggest and freshest matchups this company has, that just is organic, because it's two guys who are organically over in this company. Like, I know Mox had everything coming into this company and all the name value, but like, he is over in a different way than he was in WWE, and he has just become such a natural part of AEW. And then Hangman, obviously his whole rise was through the birth of AEW. That was almost his identity and AEW's identity were hand in hand for a good portion of time. So them coming together really feels like a big deal. But on to MJF, who again I thought was so good. One thing I'm loving about this version of MJF, because I'm not sure if babyface MJF is the right move, but I love this dynamic of MJF, who was so full of himself and the crowd would boo him. He would just get nuclear heat every week. He would get the best heat and he would revel in it. He would be so full of himself, so confident. But now everything about that's changed. The crowd is constantly behind him, and he is for the first time ever showing real vulnerability and showing that he actually does not love himself the way he portrays, or that the way the crowd loves him now. So when he used to not have the crowd loving him and he would pretend to love himself or actually love himself. And now the crowd loves him, but he can't fully love himself right now. And he is going through it. And I think that's some brilliant work by MJF. So whether the post-match stuff was improvised or not, I feel like part of it was the plan, but then they filled for a little bit of time by showing the matches that were going to happen next week and all of that stuff. And maybe we would have had like a 5 to 7 minute overrun if not, but MJF is firing on another level. And I don't want to gush about it too much because we're going to talk about him again. And a lot of the same stuff I just said will apply when we talk about that promo. But this main event, despite seemingly going haywire, I think it just works on so many levels, because even if Hangman is legit injured, whether it's work or shoot, it works for his character. And I think he's someone that will be fine from this as a character, and hopefully physically too. It's easy to just disregard that stuff because wrestlers are fucking superhuman and seem to never truly be set back by injuries. But I think he'll hopefully be fine ultimately. And as a character, he'll completely be fine. And there's a few times where I can't wait for a rematch, because I know it's not going to be right away, but I know it's going to be better than what we got. And this was just a sampler, a little taste of what we can get going forward.
Absolutely.
You're right. It does work for his character because he didn't quit or get pinned. Somebody else stopped the match for him. I'm sure, in character, he probably would have been like, I would have kept going. I would have fought through whatever it ends up being. So
what I would like to add,
work for him.
I would like to add, unconfirmed reports are coming out that Hangman, as he was being taken out on the stretcher, threw the thumbs up to the crowd. So the fact that he was physically able to do that is a good sign. I mean, not saying that this isn't a serious thing. It probably still is, but he can physically move his arms. That's better than what people were worried about a few minutes ago.
Yeah, I also saw some unconfirmed things that he was moving all of his limbs and was talking to the doctor. So hopefully that's true. And he's able to, and he's fine. That's what I'm looking for. The other thing, Danny, I wanted to say with the matchup with Moxley and Hangman, I think you're absolutely right that this is such not only like a fresh matchup that we obviously haven't really had, but it's such a cool one because Mox is the ace of this company. People have been calling him that now, especially after with everything with Punk and him coming back and not going on vacation and winning the title again and holding down the interim title while Punk was hurt. Everyone's been calling him the ace recently, and now he's he's re-upped with this contract. I think it was another 3 years, I think, or maybe 5. Was it 5? Thank you, James. Jericho just did a 3-year. That's why I got confused. But we'll talk about that another time. He just re-upped his contract, so he's the ace. But Hangman, like you said, he's the heart and soul of this company. So anytime you see these guys clash, Chad, it's such an interesting dynamic because you have probably the two of the most over people on the roster and the two people who represent and embody this company more than anybody else. Right. Even the elite, I think, at this point.
Okay, so everybody knows that I love Mox, but I do believe he's an acquired taste, which is fine.
That's pretty fair.
I mean, it's fair to say, right?
We've had that discussion where we don't necessarily like all of his matches.
Right.
But we love him as a person.
Yeah,
for sure.
I mean, everybody loves Mox, but yeah, in the ring, he's an acquired taste.
Motherfucker.
He is super cool for real. But this match, like you guys said, as refreshing as it was was fucking good. I cannot wait until part 2, 3, 4, whatever, whenever. This shit was amazing. I hate that it was cut short. I also thought it was a work in the beginning because I also didn't necessarily see how he got hurt until I saw the replays on Twitter. So I thought, they were just protecting Hangman, which made sense until we got a part 2. But everything before that was hard hitting and brutal as fuck. And I loved it. It was super chaotic, super violent. And I can't wait to see that. MJF. He is just, I feel like every week it's just more cocksucking, but he's one of the most brilliant wrestlers we have ever come across. And in order for him to just hit the switch that quickly in like a 2-3 week frame and be received this way from just a couple of promos and a few actions and segments is beyond me. I don't know any other wrestler who could turn it around this quickly and still be received greatly. This is just, I don't know. We'll get into it more when we talk about the promo, but just brilliant.
Yeah, there are only a few wrestlers who could ever do this. I mean, the first one that came to my head was like The Rock just being able to flip from face to face.
Yep.
Like
I keep getting The Rock vibes too, man.
All I can think of, though.
Just the fact that he's able to just do it on a dime. At least The Rock, and it's not even that MJF is doing it on a dime. He's been building this out, like you said, since he's come back, and it's just absolutely brilliant. Actually, you know what? I'm gonna go a little off script here, and let's just go to that promo.
Whoa,
it's all we want to talk about. Let's get to it. So obviously, this started as an in-ring interview with between Tony Schiavone and Lord William Regal, and before Regal can even start, MJF's music hits, and he comes down. And as he's getting on the apron, Regal pulls out the brass knuckles. But MJF slowly takes off his diamond ring and puts it away and says he doesn't want to fight. So Regal puts the knuckles away. And then MJF proceeds to tell this fantastic story, embellished or not, absolutely fantastic story about his WWE tryout, where he was able to sell Regal on himself. And Regal told him that he would put his stamp of approval on MJF, of something very few people got. It was only, I think he mentioned it was Brian, Mox, and Claudio, which I'm sure there are a few more, but it works.
Of course, but yeah.
Anyway, yeah. Regal unfortunately then had to reject Max for the time being because he was only 19 at the time, but told Max to keep sending him videos of his promo work and a match, at least once a month. But after 2 months, Regal told Max that he wasn't selling himself to him, and then he needed to make a bigger name in the wrestling world in order for Regal to pay attention to him because the game had changed and a bunch of other corporate bullshit. MJF says that this broke him to the point that he was thinking about killing himself and quitting the business and then killing himself. Obviously, you don't want to do that. Can't do it the other way. But he realized he couldn't because he would then let people like Regal win and be right. So now he's built himself up to the point where he reads the email just to laugh at Regal because he thinks Regal's a joke. Regal then responds by saying that he did all of that to light a fire under MJF's ass. And despite how long MJF has come, and he's come a long way and made himself a star, but if that email is the worst thing that has happened to him and the worst thing that MJF has dealt with, then he's had it easy compared to everything Regal went through wrestling grown men at 16 years old. Regal then explains that he's not impressed with MJF because despite his fame and money, he's taken shortcuts and he has not done villainy the right way by doing things like pushing Schiavone a couple of weeks ago and other stuff like that. Regal then offers MJF the chance to hit him from behind and turns his back to him. Max puts the ring on, but he can't do it. Regal tells MJF that he has a lot to learn, and MJF is there just completely shook and unsure of himself. So I didn't do this promo any justice. All right, James, I got you. I didn't do this promo any justice. This was unbelievable. I wrote all of this, I think, during the Jericho Castle match because I wanted to make sure I had it all. But I was just so engrossed by it, I didn't even pay attention to writing it down. I was so just encapsulated by this promo. It was unbelievable. Danny, as you said, like the crowd was just so behind him by the end of it that it was great. And they were booing Regal, which I didn't even think was the thing. But Regal then turned it around and was able to not necessarily, get the crowd ended up, I think, back on his side enough, but he completely undermined what MJF had said and just completely undermined MJF himself. Now, James had raised his hand, but now I'm getting arguments in our comment section.
I raised my hand first.
Everybody
last time.
Everybody wants to get in here
Fine.
Chad, obviously, this was a fantastic promo. Please give me all of your thoughts on it. You get to go first because you didn't beg.
Who begged? I raised my hand.
Okay, so hands up if, because maybe it's just me. Hands
up don't work here, apparently.
Yeah, I would never raise my hand.
Hands up if anyone thought Regal maybe would not deliver as good here.
I was a little worried. He's been like on and off lately. Okay. And it's not his fault. It's a new, like, he's not used to the freestyle promos that AEW does, but he nailed it. He nailed it.
I wasn't so much worried about him in terms of that. I was worried about him in terms of just following that. Like, how do you follow what MJF
That's
said?
what I mean. I was like, again, we talk about MJF on this podcast all the time, but he's one of the most brilliant, if not the most brilliant promo guys in the business, period. I can't name many people on top of him, pause, if there are. Now, like I said, after following such a great act, I hate James, following a great act like that, you would think that Regal could not keep up. And he was fucking toe to toe with such an epic and paramount ass promo that it made me look at Regal differently, because Regal can talk. He always could talk. And as James said, he's been having a hard time getting used to the system and the way things are in AEW. He's used to just calling matches and making matches midday, whatever. But this was special. Like, to me, it was just very special. It showed such depth. I could go on forever, honestly. Just following such a great ass promo and then telling him you're still not good enough and making him doubt himself when he's absolutely the best promo guy there could be. And you're still telling him, you're at 80%. You could be at 100, and making him prove himself and turning this heel to a face. I could go on and on, but this is a live, so I don't want to be on here for hours. I will let you give it to one of the beggars.
Rocks, paper, scissors for it right now.
What? No,
it's Danny.
Established
Danny's
you last. Yeah.
No, Chad said I go last. That doesn't mean I go last.
Yeah. And then Chad got his way by going first, so obviously you're going last.
This is bull.
Anyway, Regal's response was great because it didn't make any sense, but he's so good that it didn't matter. But like, he contradicted himself like 5 times in that. Like,
absolutely.
Did he want MJF to hit him or not? Wouldn't that have been a non-respectable villainous thing to do as opposed to a respectable villainous thing to do? I don't understand what this guy means at all. It didn't make any sense, but man, his voice
he's also so a goddamn hypocrite. I watched this guy beat up Trish Stratus. I watched this guy bully Linda McMahon. I watched WWE 20 years ago. You're a liar, Regal. You're a liar and a villain.
Absolutely.
And a manly man.
It was so well delivered, that I still got on board with this.
It's the English accent. Everything just works.
So,
and calling a grown man sunshine is always going to be hilarious to me.
Yeah. Well, it works. Again, that's not anything that works better with the accent. He might as well have just asked him if he was a freaking bender or not. But like, he was so good despite not making any sense. Like he literally, if you just break it apart like sentence by sentence, it doesn't make any sense. But he was so good. And the crowd didn't fully get completely back on his side, but they weren't booing him as much as they were when he first grabbed the mic. So I would say that's a win as far as that goes. But oh my God, MJF is just so good at balancing real life and wrestling and just doing these promos that you get lost in because you just never know with him whether he's going to give a regular good old amazing MJF promo where he just goes for nuclear heat and that's it, or if he's going to tell a nice story that gets you on board and gets you on his side even when you know he's still an asshole. And that's what this was, and that's what it bled in so well to the post-match stuff with the main event, because all the payoff was there where he wanted to do things the right way. And despite Regal not making too much sense, MJF still took something away from that and then decided, yeah, I want to do things the right way for once in my miserable life, which, you know, keeps talking about how his life is miserable. So that's always good and relatable. Yeah, good shit. I have no problems with him mentioning he wanted to kill himself. Very relatable stuff by MJF right there. Unbelievable. He walks such a great line where there was a point halfway through this where I was like, he is just so good at this. This does not need to happen right now. We do not need a promo this good on this Dynamite, but here we are with it. Full Gear is like a month away, and we're getting this far out. Where is this possibly going to go next?
That is a very good question. I genuinely, yeah, wow. I was looking at Full Gear dates earlier today just because I wanted to go before this. I desperately want to go now.
Well, too late. The tickets just probably skyrocketed in price
know, right?
now that the main event was announced.
It's gonna be so expensive. Either way, who cares? I'm fucking going. This is great. All right, James. I know you kind of
also really quick before we get to James.
We gotta move on, right? There's no time.
Both of y'all. Anyway, Nick, thank you for that introduction. I will take it from here. This was great. It didn't make sense, like Danny said, but that's fine. It didn't need to make sense when the passion is there. I don't think we've ever really truly gotten a boomer versus millennial storyline the way we're getting right now, where you have Regal, like back in my day, we had it so rough, but at the same time, MJF isn't wrong. Every millennial has had that, well, you need 5 years of experience. It doesn't matter that you're only 4 years old. So, you know, I feel for MJF. I get where Regal's coming from. And I think there's another facet too, where he could say, it felt like he was touching it. He just didn't say it, where he's trying to protect a young MJF at that time because he knows what it's like. And again, it very much felt like he was circling that drain. He just didn't really take the dive in. But I think there is so much here, just like there always is with a good MJF story. And I think Mox is perfect for this because Mox is another guy who he did it from a young age. He was wrestling from a young age and he paid the price for it, just like Regal paid the price for it. Regal battled addiction almost his entire career in his life. Moxley battling alcoholism. There is so much there that you could say this came from wrestling. This came from needing wrestling and it being my entire life the way you said it was. Brian battling injury. Claudio battling Vince McMahon for brass. There are some huge struggles there. But I really, like you guys said, I don't know where they go next, but it'll be very exciting no matter what. I don't know how I feel about MJF turning face, but you guys kept saying The Rock, and it's true. Everyone always talks about how great a tweener Austin was. The truth is, in my opinion, Rock was always a better tweener because Austin was only a tweener because back in the 90s, they didn't want us yet to be supporting the fuck you boss thing. or like the screw upper management, I'm a regular guy thing. They still wanted us to believe in the Hulk Hogan-esque story, that like the hero story. But now in 2022, Austin would have just been a babyface. There would be no talk of tweeners. Yeah. This is way more tweener, way more Rock, where you have that aspect of, I can say fuck you to the bad guy because people are going to cheer me and I'm good at it. And I can say fuck you to the good guy because people are still going to cheer me and I'm good at it. And that's something The Rock was great at doing. And, you know, I've been saying the second coming of The Rock is Ricky Starks. And, you know, I still think he kind of is. But MJF really just, he threw his hat in the ring. And now all I really want is Ricky Starks versus MJF. But
that's coming at some point in AEW, it will come, but
it better.
So can I say that I think, I'm going to say something nice about Regal because I feel like I was a little harsh on him, even though I think he's amazing. But Brian, total chump right now. He couldn't even properly recruit Daniel Garcia. What a chump. Moxley recruited Wheeler Yuta. Oh God, turns out how neutral of a fucking pick was that. Regal, he was going for the big fish. He's recruiting MJF. Regal's playing a fucking bigger game than any of us.
I don't want it though. I absolutely don't want it.
Does anyone actually want it in the Blackpool Combat Club? No. But do we want him to be tested by the Blackpool Combat Club? Yes. I think so. I think his whole moral compass being questioned lately there's no coincidence that it's coming hand in hand with the Blackpool Combat Club, with Moxley, with Regal. And then if his relationship with Yuta, like that, all that's playing a part of it. And then Brian could also be a part of it as a goody two shoes ex WWE guy. Like I think MJF mixing it up with the Blackpool Combat Club is leaps and bounds better than fucking Jericho Appreciation Society and Blackpool Combat Club mixing it up. And I think because the wrestling's been great and will continue to be great, but the character work is on another level where that has been somewhat missing for the Blackpool Combat Club. And I think there's a beautiful harmony between the two going on right now. And the important part of this week, of what also made this so good, is that the firm was nowhere on the show because they fucking
I agree with Danny on this. I think, and not that I want them to go away completely because I think they are salvageable. I think to separate them from this MJF story, at least for now, is good, unless they are really pulling a long con and MJF is just fucking with people the way he was fucking with Cody Rhodes or Chris Jericho or Punk. Honestly, Punk is the best example. But
I don't think he was fucking with Cody Rhodes. That was his best friend that he genuinely looked up to.
And then turned on.
Yeah.
But unless he plans on screwing over Moxley and Regal and the BCC by using the firm, I'm glad that they're away from this for the time being.
Yeah, I don't necessarily know if I want that because I'm liking this character work from MJF and I'd like it to continue. And quite frankly, I know we've thrown the Rock comparison out there a lot. I was almost thinking in my head because the way Regal was talking about cheating, even while still, you know, him going towards face, as long as he was cheating the right way, you know, inside the ring doing every he has to win. It can almost be more of like an Eddie Guerrero vibe where we all used to cheer Eddie for cheating. You know what I mean? Lie, cheat, steal, and just win. So, you know, and if MJF is doing those type of things, if he's still hitting people with the Dynamite Diamond Ring during a match or, you know, hitting a low blow or whatever it is while he's face, there's a good chance we're still going to cheer him for that.
See, but that worked for Eddie because Eddie was a lovable scamp. He never called, like, other than when he was actually a heel, He didn't act like a prick. MJF is trying to be a sympathetic prick. It's less about the fun antics of cheating and more like Regal said. Like, Regal said it perfectly, even though that was also a lie. I didn't hit people with brass knucks because I had to. I did it because I liked doing it and it was funny. And that was a great line, by the way, but also a lie, because I remember Regal having to use those brass knucks to win a lot of the time because he couldn't beat his opponents otherwise.
Like 70% of the time.
And Regal's also still a villain. I think you have to take everything he says with a grain of salt.
Oh, of course.
Absolutely. That's part of another layer to this.
But it does change between an Eddie Guerrero, who, again, he did it and we loved him for it because he had fun with it, versus Regal or now MJF, who they do it because they're insecure, or they do it because they know they can't beat their opponent. So it's, again, fascinating stuff. But I don't know. At the end of the day, Regal's just a hypocrite. Is that what we're taking away from this? Because I feel like that's what I took away from this conversation.
Absolutely a hypocrite.
I love him, though. I love him, but a hypocrite.
Yeah. And again, I wasn't saying like we're going to cheer MJF the same way we cheered Eddie. I just think that it's possible that we would cheer him, even though they're doing it for completely different reasons. I know it's a little apples to oranges there, but they're both still fruits. So... Anyway, let's move on. We spent a lot of time on this. Let's go to the top of the card with our first title match of the night, which was the Best Friends and Orange Cassidy versus Death Triangle for the AEW Trios Tag Championship. Obviously, this comes off of last week where Orange Cassidy beat Pac for the All Atlantic Championship, with which Orange carried into the arena in a backpack because he doesn't like carrying things, apparently, according to Excalibur. These teams have such great chemistry. I could watch their matches forever. I think a lot of it has to do with the Pac and Orange stuff, but I think Best Friends and the Lucha Brothers, they fit in great into this whole feud and this dynamic. The match ended up ending with Pac eventually going for the ring bell hammer again to hit Orange, but Phoenix actually intervenes and comes in the ring to tell Pac that he doesn't need to use the hammer, and ends up taking it from him. This causes Pac to get hit with an orange punch, and both men go down. Then Trent and Penta tag themselves in. Penta gets hit with an assisted Storm Zero, but Phoenix comes out of fucking nowhere, as he is wont to do, to break up the pin. Phoenix then tags himself in, catches Trent with the spin kick coming off the ropes, and drops him on his head, and I don't even know what it was. It looked like almost like a sheer drop Falcon Arrow. Whatever it was fucking vicious, and they ended up picking up the win to retain their titles. After the match, there's a bit of back and forth between Pac and Phoenix, but Alex and Penta are able to calm them down, and cooler heads prevail. So, Dan, I'm going to go to you first here because you look like you disagreed with something I said about the chemistry between these two teams.
Just that... When you said you could watch these two teams wrestle forever, I'm good. I've seen enough. But
I guess it's fair. At a certain point, everything does hit a point of diminishing returns, which I feel like I end up saying every week about fucking Dynamite. But man, I do really enjoy the matches between these two teams.
Look, the quality of the match was superb. It was fantastic. But everything else about it sucked, and this was bad, and it shouldn't have happened. Why couldn't they face any other trios team? You literally, Cassidy gets his win finally over Pac, and then you have him lose the next week. And yeah, he didn't get pinned because obviously it's a perfectly good other best friend right there to get pinned. But like, this is the same. He just won the title last week, and he's going to lose this week. This is literally what they just did on Raw with Riddle, where he finally wins against Seth after losing like 18 times. And then he has another match when the feud was over and then loses. Like, it was so dumb. You didn't have to do this. And I get it. They want to sow tension between Death Triangle, which fine. You could have done it with anyone, honestly. But I understand that Pac's motivation is he really just hates Orange Cassidy. I understand that. But like, why did they get a trios titles match? They just lost to them. They just lost in the tournament. And I don't understand why this match had to happen. And why are we even having dissension between them? I mean, that's whatever. That's the most objective part of this for me, where I'm like, they can't do that, or they don't have to, whatever. But I don't want these two teams to fight again. It ruined my enjoyment of the match because despite the match being great, it's just a rematch that didn't make sense to happen and shouldn't have happened. And I don't like the idea of someone winning a title and then losing the match the next week, even if they're not the one getting pinned. It's like, what was the point? Like, I just don't get it. Who did this help? All this helped was so seeds of doubt for Death Triangle, which is great. But then best friends are even bigger chumps because they can't even beat a team that's squabbling. So like, this was dumb. And you guys can try to change my mind, but you're already wrong. So, but good luck anyway.
I'm honestly, I don't think I'm going to. I think you actually brought up a pretty good point, and I don't want to say it took away from my enjoyment of the match, but
no,
perhaps the only justification is that Orange Cassidy won the match last week, and because Tony wanted to put as many titles on Title Tuesday as possible, that he created this, this match for that reason. But
that's kind of the way I saw it.
Yeah,
you
but
put a trios guy in a singles match, and you get a trios title match.
Yeah, no, I was about to say, even then, like, how is that even it's a barely halfway decent justification, if that. Like,
we also live in a world where Nyla Rose is running around with a championship that isn't hers. That'd be fine for Title Tuesday.
Yeah, well, that's going to be on Title Friday, I guess, but we'll get to that later.
This is TBS. They're on TV. Defend the fucking title on TBS.
No, James. Only the TNT title gets defended on TBS, and the TBS title gets defended on TNT. Jesus,
you got to promote the other channels on each other. Obviously,
come on. It makes so much sense. As for the discord between, the Death Triangle. It is kind of interesting because I love Death Triangle's entrance because Phoenix comes out of the face tunnel, Pac comes out of the heel tunnel, and Penta's in the middle because that's their alignment pretty much as faces, heels, and a tweener. So the face interrupting the heel doing a heel thing within the team actually does make a lot of sense. And it is something I'm surprised we haven't seen earlier. Like Phoenix always seems to be, I don't want to say straight up face, but more or less a straight up face. Like he's usually not the one jumping somebody or attacking them from behind. Penta does it occasionally, but if that's Pac's move, so I was shocked we hadn't seen it earlier. James, I guess you would agree with that, right? Like it's I don't want to say it's weird we haven't gotten it earlier, but I guess it's about time we do, even if they don't break them up.
It's a fascinating wrinkle on a team that's been around AEW for a very, very long time. Pac himself sort of, he's a heel right now for sure in this feud with Orange Cassidy, but I also label him as a tweener too, because there are times that he's straight up going against bad guys and the crowd is 100% behind Pac because he's so good at what he does in the ring. So I'm glad that they're doing some character work with this team. Truth be told, I'm just waiting for the Elite to come back to take their titles back in a year when we find out what the hell's going on.
We're never going to at this rate until that court case is closed.
Nope. But I enjoyed the match, even though I agree the match shouldn't have happened. At this point, we've seen the Best Friends and the Death Triangle team go against each other. Oh my God, way too many times, or at least some variation of it way too many times. And in fact, I'm pretty sure Death Triangle beat the Best Friends to become the new Trios champions because
they did.
Yeah. So
I think it was literally the match after Tony announced that he stripped every one of their titles following All Out.
And, they defended the titles against Dark Order on Rampage, not this last Friday, but I think 2 Fridays ago.
Yep, after they could pull out from the Andrade thing.
So they could have easily done it then. Like this angle with like the dissension, it's a babyface team. Pac shouldn't have to cheat to beat the fucking Dark Order. So do it then. But here we are. I'm not going to say the match wasn't good because it was. But definitely didn't need to exist in the form that it did. And I hope we don't see it again for a very long time.
Yeah, I was literally just gonna say I was gonna throw a chat. I was like, chat, we don't need to see this match again for like a good year and a half.
We don't. However, I wish you came to me first because I was clearly the most optimistic. I did not take any of the political stances that Danny or James did. I just enjoyed the match.
I liked it.
I think we all liked the match. It's just the surrounding it are just like they're trying to hand wave it.
No, I totally agree. I mean, when I first saw it, I said, "Hey, we don't need to see this match again." But then they're just always going to be creative and cool, so I didn't mind the match, and then I didn't think about the titles and the win last week and the loss this week at all. None of that actually even crossed my mind. I was just like, oh, cool starting match. It worked for me. It was good. I mean, of course, I hate Orange Cassidy losing, but I knew they wouldn't win the titles, and I kind of hate double champions at times. So for me, it was just fine.
I will say, to go off of Chad a little bit, I think I would have enjoyed everything more if the best friends actually just won. And not because
but you knew they wouldn't.
But I mean, why not? You know, like
because they don't like them.
Well, I feel like though. Sorry, Chad. I feel like though they're saving that loss to whomever it is, for whenever they decide to split that triangle up. Because if they do this again, where Pac gets the hammer, Phoenix interferes, and they end up losing because of it, Pac is gonna go fucking ballistic. So I think that's probably going to break up Death Triangle. So I feel like you sow that seed now, and when they lose these titles in what I imagine will be that way, that leads to the breakup. Now, again, like we've all, at least Danny and James have said, it didn't have to be against best friends, but it was, and you still end up doing the same thing.
So. I can also say I'm very much looking forward to the Death Triangle breakup, because I've seen Penta versus Phoenix before. They have great matches. You throw Pac in there, it's going to be even better. So what comes next, I'm very excited for. But I agree with what you just said, Nick. It was just what everybody here just said. Danny starting it, it just didn't need to start with this team of best friends.
Phoenix
to go to the chat, Eric just said that he thinks Pac beats Wardlow
for the TNT title. Interesting.
I think it's going to be someone else, but hey, it could be.
It's going to be Luchasaurus.
I'm all fucking for it. Honestly, yeah.
It's going to be Luchasaurus.
We got the nod today. We'll go over it soon.
Face versus face match, though, is very interesting.
It is.
Get out! Get out! Leave! Go! Moving on.
Just one last question. Has Penta fought Phoenix in AEW?
Yes.
I feel like they have.
Where?
Several times. In the when they were part of Eddie's faction, they had a singles match. In a tournament. They had a match in a tournament. Penta won by roll up.
Yes.
Eddie convinced Phoenix to let Penta advance anyway.
Yes, you're absolutely right. Yeah, that's why I forgot. Yeah.
Didn't also too, I think, like one of them got hurt in the tournament. Kenny and Hangman ended up facing off in at the end. It was like the number one contenders tournament.
I think that was said tournament.
That was the same tournament. Yeah. And then like one of them got hurt, and then that's why the other one ended up advancing. Okay, yeah, I just couldn't remember because I remember one of them being really vicious and like them like ripping each other's masks off and stuff, like and then Penta being like a dick as he usually is. I know they fought in Lucha Underground and those were sick.
I think they also fought in Impact as well.
Wouldn't surprise me. Yeah, they put on some bangers. Because
even just want to point out, even Eric agrees that Luchasaurus should be the one to beat Wardlow because, you know, when you have a red hot baby face, you put a title on them. You don't wait. Strike while iron's hot.
I cannot wait for Jungle Boy to take the TNT title off Luchasaurus.
Which is fine because it still builds.
Yeah, because it's a heel beating a face, so that still works.
Sense. It's just like Money in the Bank, James. God.
All right, moving on, Nick. Move us on. Move us on.
Let's see. After that match, we had a video package for the Mox Hangman title match, and then we come back from commercial with a backstage interview with Dr. Britt Baker, DMD, Jamie Hayter, and Rebel. I think they just talked some shit about Tony Storm and Hikaru Shida. I kind of missed it. I was getting something out of the oven. But that seemed to be the gist of what they were saying. Did Jamie say she was going after the title? I think they were saying maybe one of them would be.
First of all, yes, she did.
By the end of the year.
First of all, yes. Second of all, your inner Matt Maynard just came out a little bit. The accent was very thick for Daddy Magic there. But yeah, they said by the end of the year, one of them will be the interim champion, and then Britt corrected her, saying, no. Sooner than later, one of us will be the actual world champion.
Thank you. And then we had the match between Toni Storm and Hikaru Shida, hence the shit talking, for the AEW Interim Women's World Championship. And hey, AEW, look what happens when you don't put the women in the time slot of death. People actually give a fucking shit. The crowd was really, really into this match. It was great to see. Probably helps that everyone loves Shida and Toni Storm is also very over. But I mean, Shida's after the.
Can we all just shut the fuck up and talk about who came back? That's all that matters.
Yeah, Saraya came back after not being here last week, and it just felt way better.
And she wrestled.
This match was awesome. I loved it. There were like 3 different times I thought Shida won this match, but Toni Storm ended up winning after she countered the katana, hit a German suplex, a tornado DDT, and a Storm Zero to get the win. Then after the match, Hayter and Rebel come out of the crowd to jump Toni from behind. And Britt comes out and Najee had her Steelers jersey because they are in Cincinnati and they fucking hate each other. And now I'm thinking I should have put my Andy Dalton jersey on for this show, but whatever. And she just gets mercilessly booed. So then Saraya comes out and starts brawling with Britt, and they end up going in the crowd, and we don't see them again. And Rebel hits Toni with a crutch, which then leads to the aforementioned return. Rio, out of fucking nowhere, comes back, drop kicks Rebel, throws Jamie out of the ring, and just the wild ass crossbody to the outside. It is amazing how somebody so small makes moves look so impactful. And she comes in and makes the save. So, James, since you are the happiest person about Rio's return, you can start here. I'm hyped to see her back. It's been a minute. I love Rio. She's fan-fucking-tastic. And it's not really necessarily Saraya like leading the charge here, but for whatever reason, I guess because Tony has a new toy, he actually gives a shit about this women's division now, and we're getting some of our best players back.
It's crazy how we went through the CM Punk debacle on the men's side, and now we're getting it again with Saraya. But I let that train wreck happen on its own time. I am very excited for the women's division. This match was great. Shida is over, and I'm glad that the fans gave her the respect that she deserves, that she even made Tony look good somehow. He gets it. All that said, Rio coming back was amazing. She has been sorely missed. She is like freakishly over. She is like super over for the women's division, and I love that. The inaugural women's champion. It's been way too long since she's been in AEW. It's been way too long since there's been like a pure baby face that the crowd just unanimously gets behind. Like, people love Shida and people get behind Shida, but I think expectations are tempered with Shida at this point just because of how poorly she's been booked. I'm sure Rio is also going to be poorly booked, but it doesn't matter. It was exciting for her to come back, and the reaction was great. I was over the moon when she came back. I'm excited for whatever matchups she can get into before she goes back to Japan, God knows when. But awesome stuff. This women's division is really starting to feel legit. It's starting to feel packed. It's starting to feel
important.
Give it time before.
Are we getting there?
Give it time before Tony Khan gets bored again. But I'm just happy that there's attention, and I'm happy that there's women there who are capable of garnering that attention into something hopefully very memorable.
Yeah, and I don't think it's much harder than just having these very talented women put on absolute bangers of matches, and we'll get there. Like, I think that's what happened in NXT to start. Eventually that moved up to the main roster at WWE, and you can easily do the same thing here. Just, put a little storyline behind it. Have them go out, not in a fucking time slot of death like you do every week, Tony, and have them go out and put on a great match like we had tonight, and we're fine, you know. And you throw a little story behind it. You got Rio coming back, and look, Chad, the women's division feels like it's actually going somewhere.
Agreed. To actually say what Eric said in the live chat, he said, I will say the women as a collective is much more exciting than one-on-one. Everything about this slot, like you said, was pretty much perfect. I mean, the match was good. The segment was good. The participants looked strong. The division looked strong. I mean, as you said, it's starting to look much more important. And that alone, I'm not as high on Saraya as I was due to outside politics, however, but if her coming back does this, then I absolutely welcome it times 10, tenfold, because this was good.
I'm going to disagree with one point, and it is the point that Eric made and you agreed with. We've had the multi-women matches for the title, and I like mixing them in as well, and mixing in the singles matches together. But I think another important thing about building this division is not everything needs to be about the two titles.
I agree.
Have separate.
That's
feuds.
true. I concur with that.
And that's why Britt and Saraya is so important, because I think it's going to be our first AEW women's pay-per-view match not to have a title.
Yeah.
And that speaks volumes.
Yeah. And think about how good Thunder Rosa versus Britt was. And I know a lot of these are going to involve Britt because she's the golden child over there. But that lights out match was amazing.
Was that on pay-per-view or on TV?
No, it wasn't. It was on
The lights out match was TV.
But it was still a banger of a match. And I don't think the title was involved, if I remember correctly.
It wasn't. It absolutely wasn't. But Britt is the Charlotte of AEW. She's bigger than the title at this point.
Yeah. And after the Saraya, we're going to have at some point.
Me neither, Danny, but it's true.
I try to memorize them saying it. And I just
also, hold on.
But we're going to have Jamie versus Britt. Go ahead, Danny. I'm sorry.
Oh, sorry. No, the comparison doesn't work because Charlotte's never not been in the fucking title picture. So
that's true.
you can't actually definitively say she's bigger than the title when
that's fair.
She's always in it.
I'll give
in
you
theory
that.
she should be, but sorry, Ref. Sorry.
No, maybe Becky could be, but after we get this Britt and Saraya feud over, we're gonna have Britt versus Jamie, which I don't think necessarily needs to be for the title, although I think at some point they're gonna have to put that title on Jamie Hayter. She is over as all hell. And you can just have other feuds, let Deeb feud with somebody. There was the whole Deeb Sheeta feud that went on way too long because Sheeta had to leave a couple of times, but the feud itself,
she also just lost the whole feud.
Yeah, but had the feud been condensed, I think it would have been good. It started really good. Sure. It just went on too long. So just do more than just the titles, and you can still do multi-women matches for the title. But do more in the division than just have two title pictures.
I agree.
Let that be it. Do more than just 6 women tags at the 10:30 time slot every week, and this division will be fine.
And also, I'd like to say that I think while it's still interim, it's perfect to build everything around it until I don't know, exactly what's going on with Thunder Rosa, but until we have the official title back, hell yeah, give us matches that don't involve the title. It's perfect.
Absolutely.
It's wonderful timing.
Yeah. And if you want to still include Tony Storm, you can do eliminator matches too.
Yep.
They do that in the men's division all the time, title eliminators, where Mox faces whomever, and it's not for the title, but if they win, they get a shot. And at some point, somebody will win one and probably get a shot. But for now, it's just it's a good way to.
That's crazy talk. That's crazy talk.
But it is a good way to keep your champ on TV and keep them wrestling without them, actually having to put the title up every week. So do more of that too, Tony. There's a lot of options here, man. You have that whole division, to play with. So
we hear that, Tony. We know you're listening. You've copyrighted us too much not to know about us. So we know you're paying attention.
It's true.
Anyway, so I'm gonna break this whole thing down for you guys real quick because I don't know what you guys are talking about. Besides Rev in the last 2 minutes, everything you said made perfect sense. But first of all, Eric, the one-on-ones were fine when it was Britt, so I don't think that's necessarily the issue. But also, so what? The Saraya and Britt is the biggest match you have and doesn't have the title. Not to compare the two, but like The Rock and John Cena didn't need a title, and when the title was in it, it was worse. So like, that's not always the case. That's not always how it has to work, and it's good to have that, especially because in this context, Saraya is the returning legend. So, it was good that Edge wasn't going for the title as soon as he got back. And when he went for the title, wasn't even that good. So, that there's no reason.
Punk too. Punk Darby, when he came back, wasn't for the title. It was just two big stars going at it.
The MJF matches,
Yep.
really,
and it worked.
Yeah, Punk was there for a while before and obviously in AEW, wins and losses matter. I think that's what we said when Punk came back. Like, he had to build his way up to the number one rankings, right? He just can't walk in and be the number one contender for the title. She's got to win some fucking matches.
Yeah. And then she can go for the title, and I think she absolutely should win the title. And that's fine if she beats someone like Tony, because you have plenty of time to build Tony up between now and then, assuming that Tony beats Thunder Rosa whenever she comes back. So like, that's totally fine. And then whoever beats Saraya gets the rub. So like, that's fine that it starts with, I feel like the ball will have been dropped by then, but we'll see. I have little faith that this will continue for that long, but whoever beats Saraya gets a good rub, and that's fine that the person she beat for the title wasn't as big as the first person she feuded with, or as big as the person who beats her can become. Like, that's totally fine. I really don't think it has to be for the title, but also, Saraya makes a lot of poor life choices, mainly just in relationships, but for the most part, hasn't affected her career too much. It's more so her personal life. There's other things like injuries have affected her career. So don't compare her to this Punk nonsense. She's not going to be causing problems like that. Her boyfriend might, but she's not going to be causing problems like that. But and then also the match itself was pretty good. The crowd was super into it, except for like the last 5. They just died randomly at the end a little bit, which I thought was odd, because I liked the ending, because I like when someone just overwhelms the other person with offense instead of hitting a finisher out of nowhere, where they hit multiple moves in a row and then the finisher. I'm always a fan of finishing matches like that. I think it looks strong. Tony's great, and it's weird that I have to be flying this flag. But if that's the joke we're gonna go for with the dynamic here, I guess I'll take it.
The thing is, it's not even really a joke for me. I don't think she's bad. I just don't think she's amazing. I don't think she's champ great.
Oh, I mean, I think
agree
she's
with James.
champ great. I think Nyla Rose has been champ, so anyone can be.
Nyla's great. Heresy.
Nyla is hilarious. She is not a great wrestler. She gets gassed.
She's gotten a lot better. We just haven't fucking
fast.
seen her on TV.
I can't remember the last time I saw her. Yeah.
That could be true. I admittedly, who knows how she is now. But back then, I remember every Nyla Rose match she'd be gassed like 3 minutes into it. So, I wasn't a big fan of it in ring. But yeah, everything about this was great. I don't really care about Rio, but I can't deny that she's over and she got a crazy pop. I feel whatever about it, but it's another person. It's another person that people react to, so that's good. Like, it's all positive, even though I don't care personally. It's still overall a good thing, because it's another person that's over. It's another pop. It's another person that to put people over, because to be honest, that's what she should be doing. Like, at this point, I don't think Rio winning the title again wouldn't make any sense to me. So like,
at least not right now.
No, not now.
Yeah, not now or ever again. Yeah, exactly. Like, there's just no need. It's nothing against. It's just, it would be weird. Maybe have her be the TBS champion, like 3 people removed from Chris Statlander beating Jade or something. But there's just, I don't know. It's good, and then hey, maybe one day Ruby comes back from her injury, and then we have a bunch of over people floating around in one division, and things could be fun again.
that
Not again for the first time.
Yeah, that is the plan. Also, I'm on your side with Tony Storm. Don't leave me out of this. I love Tony Storm. I think she's great. Also, I think part of the reason tonight was such a great match is she wrestled in Japan for so long. I imagine she has better chemistry with the Joshi wrestlers than she does with the American ones. Wouldn't surprise me at all. All right, let's keep it rolling. We had a promo package with Warjo after the Kingdom jumped FTR last week to help out the embassy. The Kingdom is the Canellises and I'm sorry, the Mike Bennett. That's the last time I saw him wrestle was when he was in WWE. And who's their third partner there, James? In the Kingdom?
No idea. I know Prince Nana and I know Brian Cage. The two guys are new to me.
Oh, okay. Well, I think they came over from Impact. So.
Oh wait, no. Oh, the Kingdom.
Yeah,
I was thinking
Matt Taven.
Yeah, Matt. I was hearing the Embassy. That's on me. Matt Taven, Mike Bennett, and Maria Kanellis. That's on me. I got a little distracted because of Eric's comment. Adam Page is in the hospital getting examined right now.
Oh yeah, I totally forgot to read that. Yeah, PWI reported that he is there. So.
This is the OGK, the original Kingdom. There have been many iterations of the group. They are Ring of Honor vets. Taven is a former Ring of Honor champion. They've been Ring of Honor tag team champs, IWGP tag team champs, Impact tag team champs. Maria did Playboy. So they all have a bunch of accomplishments. Whoa. And you know, all due respect, I love Maria and she's done a great job as a great manager for this team in Impact and AEW and Ring of Honor, and for her husband in WWE.
And she also has one of the greatest gifts of all time, where she's dancing with freaking AJ Styles and Carl Anderson during Imagine New Japan. Also, yeah. Oh, I forgot how good that theme was in fucking WWE. I love that.
No, it was so much better than it had any right
Maria?
To be. Yeah, Maria and Mike's.
Yeah, when he was going by Mike.
Oh, the Power of Love shit?
Yeah.
This is the greatest.
It was the old school 80s power ballad.
I definitely thought he would have done better, but not to switch gears.
I think he ended up, having some personal issues and it never really worked out. But back to Dynamite. After that promo package, we had a interview with FTR backstage with Renee. FTR says they are having the best year of their careers, but they still want the AEW World Tag Championships. Swerve and Keith Lee come over, and Swerve's pretty pissed off, saying they deserve another shot at the AEW Tag Champs, since FTR has been focused on other companies and they haven't utilized their number one contendership in like 8 months. Which I'm sure Swerve was speaking for a lot of people there, because a lot of people.
I love the storyline is FTR is just like, not today. You know, we're number one contender. We're not today. We're good.
We'll get to it.
We're good.
Keith Lee apologizes for Swerve's lack of decorum, but he does agree with Swerve that they deserve to be number one contenders. So Dak says that he agrees with them and that they should get their shot. So he offers FTR versus Swerve in Our Glory for the number one contendership. And Keith Lee accepts, much to the bewilderment of Swerve.
This is the second time that they've argued backstage now.
Yeah.
The split is coming.
Oh, yeah. They're telegraphing it, but it's fine. It's absolutely fine. After commercial, we come back to a backstage interview with Jay Lethal and Darby Allin, where apparently there's an agreement to no physicality, to which Lethal says he's fine with that. All he wants to do is challenge Darby to a rematch. Darby says that's cool. He'll beat Jay Lethal again and again and again and again. And then Sanjay interrupted. They have Marvez leave, and they start kicking the shit out of Darby. He's thrown into a loading dock door, which they then bring down on top of him, and Lethal puts on the figure 4 until security ends up breaking it up. So that feud is going to continue. It's cool. I enjoyed that first match, so we'll see where it leads. After that was the Regal and MJF promo, which we already discussed at length. We had a promo package for the Ring of Honor title match to help introduce Dalton Castle to a broader audience. And this was a longer video that they put out on Twitter, and I'm sure it was on This Week in Dynamite as well. It was really good. I'm glad they even showed part of it on Dynamite. But if you wanted to go watch the longer video, I highly recommend it. We had a backstage interview with the Acclaimed and Daddy Ass. They are going to face the Varsity Athletes because there are multiple varsity teams now.
I was gonna ask what the difference was between the Varsity Athletes and the Varsity Blondes.
The difference is the Blondes have your favorite guy Griff Garrison and Brian Pillman Jr. and the Athletes are Tony Nese and I don't even know who the other guy is. It's
Josh Woods. Josh Woods.
Thank you.
Okay, so I hate them both. It's fine.
Yeah. Anyway, I do believe this is a titles versus trademark match. If the Acclaimed win, they will get the Scissor Me trademark back, and if they lose, they'll lose their titles.
I think we can all agree the Scissor Me thing is way more important than the tag titles, right?
Yeah.
I would almost just trade the tag titles to be able to do the scissoring again.
Also, I like the very subtle part of this where at the end, Daddy Ass started slowly raising the scissor and Renee pulled it down. And I wasn't sure if he was going for it with her or he was just going to do it. And she was like, no, you're going to get sued, or no, I'm not doing it with you. But either way, it was hilarious.
She's
great.
Renee said on Twitter, yes, she is. Renee said on Twitter, she's not into the scissoring and she's not into lawsuits. So that's why she stopped it.
So the answer to what I just asked is ¿Por qué no los dos? Yeah, honestly, you're right. Renee has been great since she's come back, and obviously she was always fantastic. So it's really nice having her in AEW.
Did we get the Renee, Brian, and Yuta sit down that was advertised?
Yes, we did. And that actually came up right after that interview after commercial break.
I missed it. I missed it. Cable.
Lucky for you, I'll recap it. Renee asked Brian how it felt to lose Jericho, and he just long-winded said it sucked. And then she asked him how he felt about the Garcia situation, and he said he was very disappointed because he thinks that under the right guidance, Garcia could eventually surpass him, be a better Bryan Danielson and be the best wrestler in the world. Renee notices that Wheeler is pretty upset while Brian is saying all of this and asks him about it. And Wheeler turns and asks Brian how he could be so blind to Garcia being Snake when he and Claudio could clearly see it. Wheeler then says that he bled to be in the BCC and that it meant something to him and it means something to Claudio and Moxley, but it doesn't seem to mean anything to Brian, and he ends up storming off. So this is another one of those threads that we had throughout the show with the BCC. And I like this because we haven't really seen Wheeler and Brian interact too much, which is, I think, something we've not only mentioned, but perhaps complained about a little bit. So I like this. I like that we're going to get the two of them together. I like that there's a bit of friction between the BCC, Chad.
Yep. I think this was actually perfect because I think we all kind of fell off Yuta for a little bit, besides James. But he's showing and proving that he's seasoning himself slowly but surely. And I'm with him. We're at an interview. Why the fuck are you talking about this guy when I'm right here and I feel like I'm better and I proved myself to be in this club, and you're talking about fucking Garcia who's calling himself the Dragon Slayer and just feeding off of your energy. I get it. I liked it. It was a good move.
Yeah, and I think, Danny, you were saying, and I'm probably a little bit jokingly earlier, that they Moxley recruited Wheeler and he's been kind of I don't want to say disappointment, but he hasn't really done too much, and I think this would perhaps lend something to him doing a bit more, since he hasn't really done a whole lot since he's lost the Ring of Honor Pure Championship.
True. I thought this was good. I thought this was just very much needed to have some story, some character, something going on with the BCC. I don't think Yuta is wrong, but it's fine. Don't worry, Eric. I don't think that's really gonna come from this. I don't think we're gonna get Yuta versus Brian. If we do, it's gonna be a one-off TV match.
Right. We already have Yuta versus Brian. Am I correct?
Yeah.
And it was good. It was a good match.
It was.
There was a different Wheeler Yuta at the time. It was still the Wheeler Yuta.
Yeah, it was like it was an enjoyable Wheeler Yuta at the time. It was different. You're right, but
the chip on the shoulder Yuta is going to be good, though.
I agree.
Yeah.
Like Yuta,
I think that's going to be good.
Yuta on the Indies. Yuta on the Indies is actually, he performs heel more often than not. and he shows a lot of personality as a heel. So I'm not saying I want him to splinter off from BCC, but if he could bring some of that to AEW, I think he's going to benefit from it greatly.
No, I don't think I don't think he'll split off. I just think this is just going to be growth for the whole faction to get some of their edge back. Because feuding with sports entertainers for 8 fucking months, we'll take a little bit of your edge away. So
that's a point.
it's a very much needed for everyone. And I'll be honest, I'm more interested. He kept bringing up Claudio. I would love to see Claudio and Brian interact. Like, I know James has made a big thing of this, of the BCC not interacting, but like those two specifically, I would really love to see.
I would like to see more
interact
Claudio,
with each other.
period.
Yeah,
honestly.
The only time we really saw him was he came out with Wheeler. Yeah, last week after Brian lost to Jericho, but like we didn't really see anything with it. They just walked down there and then we went to commercial.
Yeah. And then the only time we've seen him wrestle recently was losing to Jericho.
Yeah, exactly. So I understand he's signed to Ring of Honor, but we've had enough Ring of Honor guys on the show to the point where I think we could see a little bit more of Claudio, especially if there's going to be a bit of a schism here between Brian and Wheeler, and Wheeler seems to think that Claudio is on his side. So perhaps we'll get a bit more of him.
How can you be assigned to a place that doesn't exist? Like, what? Ring of Honor isn't a show, so how
we're getting
can
there.
be exclusive to that show?
Reports are we're getting there, but
little by little.
That's a goalpost that's been moving for a while. I will say this, James, we did kind of get a little.
He didn't
bit
see
of
it, so like, who cares what his opinion is on this? He didn't see it. Right?
What I was going to say was
Nick did such an excellent job of recapping it that I feel like I did.
Well, what I was going to say was to your point about Wheeler being a heel usually on the indies. We kind of got a little bit of that the other week when he was yelling at MJF and threatening to take him out in the middle of Broad Street.
That's not him being a heel. That's him going against Long Island scum. So he's a baby face.
Fair, but like we got some of the, the
personality.
The emotion and personality out of him. Something that we frankly haven't seen much of outside of the ring.
Right.
No, I agree. And I don't know where BCC goes from here, but I appreciate the fact that there is some story being told. I appreciate the fact that there is an effort to be had to get these guys to gel a little bit more. I don't necessarily need them to be together all the time. I do like the idea of them being like an MMA fight team where it's like, they're all part of the same camp, but they all do their own thing.
Yeah, I like that a lot too. I think last week.
Yeah, but where do you think I stole it from?
But
even when I'm not here, I'm watching, boys.
I know you're in the chat.
But I do like that they are interacting. I do like that something is being done. And I like Yuta, so I hope this helps develop him. And with Brian, he's booked to face Sammy Guevara next week, which sucks because that means the storyline is ongoing. And I'm sure it's going to be a good match because the talent involved are both great.
And the crowd will be into cursing Sammy out. So
exactly,
buzz to it.
So the match will be good. I'm so done with this feud. I'm so done with all of it. And truth be told, even if Daniel Garcia does end up joining BCC, I won't care. It's gone on for too long.
Yeah, no, that's gone. You can't do that anymore. It would make no sense.
Yeah, so I'm way past it. And Brian for any title, anything. Let him win the pure title off Garcia. Like literally anything at this point.
Also, too, like I want to know what Moxley has to say about all this. Not just I know we mentioned Claudio, and I know Mox is busy, but it would be kind of nice to know what he thinks about his, teammates, inner fighting.
He loves it. He's a
probably.
I was about to say it's probably right up his alley.
Them having a match is one thing. Them not being on the same page, it might be another.
He's also very used to it. He had these two brothers in another company that he fought with all the time. So I don't think this is anything new to him.
Yeah, no, one of them's like the Joker who dresses better, and the other one's the head of a table. So
all three are wearing gold right now. That's all that matters.
Yeah, that is the coolest part about them.
I don't think he dresses better than the Joker. But,
More flamboyantly?
I think
definitely more flamboyant.
Well,
Joker dresses flamboyantly. It's just he wears the same outfit all the time.
Yeah.
And speaking of flamboyance, next match on the card was Dalton Castle versus Chris Jericho for the Ring of Honor World Championship. You guys like how I did that?
You did. I did.
I know Dalton Castle. I've liked Dalton Castle. I don't think I've ever seen his entrance before. And is spectacular. Oh my God, it was amazing. Also, my friend, shout out David, was hammered watching this, and he texted me. He goes, "Who the fuck is this guy? I absolutely fucking love him." And how could you not? It was great. The boys are the best. Just them fanning him the entire match, their involvement, which I'll get to in a second. It stole the match, to be honest with you, as good as the match was.
It did.
This match started with Jericho extending his hand for the Code of Honor, Castle going into his trunks, rummaging around, and pulling out a bird. So that's how this started. It was great. Right before commercial, we had Castle throw the boys at Hager like lawn darts to try to take Jake Hager out, which was great. And it took him out for a time. But then later, when Hager tried to interfere, the boys attacked him, and they were doing a pretty good job until one of them stole the hat that Jericho originally gave to Daniel Garcia that now Hager really likes. And this set Hager off, and he went into Hulk mode and took all the boys out. So, which much to the delight of Taz. And meanwhile, so all of that happened, and it completely stole the show, because the rest of the match, it was, like I said, it was good, but I don't know anything else that happened other than the end, which was Castle hitting the Bangarang, which is his finishing move, and Jericho kicking out, and then a few moments later, Jericho hitting a Judas effect and winning. So that was all I had from the match, except Castle just being Castle and being amazing. I'm glad he can still go. You know, he broke his back, which they mentioned quite a bit on commentary, but that was a very serious injury. So I'm glad he's back. I'm sure he's not wrestling at the same rate, but he can still go, and I'm very happy for him. Anyway, after the match, Jericho grabbed the mic at the top of the ramp and says, he's like, "I've taken out Ring of Honor champions. I've taken out Ring of Honor ring announcers. And now I'm going to take out Ring of Honor commentators." And he grabbed Ian Riccaboni. Thank you. And Jericho.
What a last name.
Jericho lines him up to hit him with the title. But Jerry Lynn, who himself is a former Ring of Honor champion, comes out from the back and takes the belt away from Jericho. And while Lynn is yelling at Jericho, Jericho kicks him in the stomach and then hits him with a tombstone pile driver on top of the belt, injuring Lynn's surgically repaired neck, and Jericho is just an absolute douchebag. So, James, as our current Ring of Honor expert / former Ring of Honor employee, like I said, I love this. We wanted this ever since Jericho won the title and said he was going to take everybody out, and I have to say it absolutely fucking delivered.
Absolutely. This was, for me, Dalton Castle is one of my favorite former Ring of Honor champions. He came later on in Ring of Honor's history, and he should have always been on such a big stage. He could work in WWE, he could work in NXT, he could work in AEW, he could work on Impact, he could work in Ring of Honor. He is an incredible talent, and I'm very happy he's getting his chance to shine right now. You're absolutely right. You know, they made a good point of talking about his back injury and, you know, his recovery. The truth is, I think he's working at a fraction of what his work rate was previously, but he's still incredible. And he was smart. He's smart that he knows that this injury impacted his work rate, so he focused entirely on his character. His Peacock character is so unique, it's so flamboyant, it's so extra, and it works amazingly. And I'm glad that they went all out for him. I'm glad they gave him the superstar entrance that he deserves. I'm glad that he felt like a big deal. He didn't just feel like a guy who was being fed to Jericho. This felt like a big fight feel. and I love that. I'm happy for Castle. I'm hoping when Ring of Honor does get the TV show, he's a featured player there. I mean, he's currently a Ring of Honor champion. He is 1/3 of the 6-man world tag team champs. So that's great. And I'm hoping, Tony knows what he has with him. I have a feeling he does. And I could say I would love to see him be an AEW regular, but as long as he's on TV somewhere, I'm happy. And go ahead.
Oh, I was just saying, you mentioned NXT, and then I was like, damn, I would love to see him versus motherfucking Prince Pretty himself. That would have been a lot of fun.
Him versus Tyler Breeze would have been great. We don't talk about the guy because he's the devil, but him versus Velveteen Dream would have been great. There was just, he works with so many guys. I highly recommend people check out, and I know it's just been put on Reddit, highly recommend people check out his feud with Colt Cabana in Ring of Honor, where I learned an important lesson in my life. You never touch another man's boys. Ever. So, all in all, yay Dalton Castle, and yay Jericho. I gotta say, this was one of the better Judas effects I think I've ever seen.
It was so quick. I think I missed it.
I think that's what actually made it better, is that it was quick and it seemed natural.
Yeah. I agree. A move like that should not have as much setup as Jericho tends to give it.
I agree.
And this was really good. So good point, Chad.
Yeah, I can understand, like, he does put a bit extra on it because you want it to come across well, both live and on TV. So, because, like, I always said this about the Superman punch too with Roman. It's a lot tighter punch in real life, and he, cocks it all the way back because you want it to look, bigger and better. So Jericho, I think, has been putting a little extra swing into that spinning back elbow, and when he does it in a tighter fashion like this, it looks realer and it looks better, in my opinion, because I'm a fight fan, but I could see why he wouldn't do that. So, but Chad, I don't know. Have you seen Castle before? Is this your first experience?
I fucking love Dalton Castle. I have always loved Dalton Castle. I've actually watched like regular matches in a fucking gym of 10 people because I'm so attached to the character. I mean, kudos to Jericho, good match, blah, blah, blah. This is now a Dalton appreciation thing. Like for casual fans,
the Castle Appreciation Society,
absolutely. For the casual fans, I will try my best to, I guess, allude him to WWE superstars. He is Fandango beating Chris Jericho at WrestleMania. He's fucking Dolph Ziggler with AJ Lee and Big E. It, like, the pizzazz, the fucking character build, the entrance, which is given Ric Flair almost, like, he is fucking phenomenal. The worst part about this match was the All-American Jack Swagger. Other than that,
and I even think he was bad. He was hilarious.
He wasn't bad. I just hate him. He wasn't bad at all.
Just his mere presence alone.
But Dalton Castle is such a 1 in a million superstar. Like, he's over the top, but he can be taken seriously. He's silly, but there's a stern in ring about him. I could praise him all night. He's great. I hope I see him on the TV at least every other week, if not every week. If he goes on Rampage, I'm going to fucking DVR Rampage. Whatever. I just want to see him all the time and the boys. Period.
Yeah. I don't have to, God, I'm with you. I just love him. He's fantastic. And I hope to see him more on Dynamite until this, hopefully this Ring of Honor show gets up and rolling, and then I'll probably end up having to watch the Ring of Honor show because I just want to watch him. Danny, I know you've been very involved in the chat, but what are your opinions on Chris Jericho versus Dalton Castle?
This was fun. Good stuff. Dalton Castle's great. I'm not going to ogle over him like these other two, but yeah, he was good. This was so much better than last week's iteration of the story because it didn't involve Ben and Bryan Danielson again. But Yeah, good stuff. Terrible tombstone post match.
With good reason.
Hager was, Jericho is old and has bad knees and shouldn't be doing tombstones.
And he wanted to make sure he didn't kill Jerry Lynn.
Yeah, I'm sure that's part of it, but I don't think that he had any choice in his legs reacting like that. But anyway, good stuff. All great. No problems here.
All right, good stuff. That you're right. That tombstone was bad, but what are you gonna do? It was a 50-year-old tombstoning a 60-year-old.
It was terrible.
Yo, be cool with Jerry Lynn.
I know. I actually don't know how old Jerry Lynn. I was rounding. But okay.
By the way,
Hager is with the hat is great. Like Rev's right. Like it's the best thing he's done so far in his AEW run.
As I told James the other week, as long as you keep Hager to a very minimal, just let me yell one hilarious thing and not say anything else, he's fucking fantastic. And all he did this week was yell, "I like this hat," and beat up some guys, and he was great.
I agree. Quick update on Hangman. The more and more we hear, this is very clearly legit. Even MJF sent a prayers for Hangman tweet. And that man never breaks kayfabe. Christopher Nowinski, who we all know, former WWE superstar, now very involved with brain study, concussion study. He commended AEW and the ref for the handling of this situation, and he sent his best to Hangman. Hangman's currently at a local hospital and can confirm the thumbs up now, so he definitely was capable of moving his limbs.
Yeah, Meltzer confirmed the thumbs up for us, and SRS just tweeted out that AEW sources have indicated Hangman was taken to a local hospital to be checked out, and the end of Dynamite was said to be improvised, as you can imagine. So that would explain the little bit of jankiness there at the end, but
they did well with what they had.
I'll
give them that. Now knowing the situation,
so that all ended up working out. Just to wrap up the rest of the show here. After the Ring of Honor title match, we had a promo package for Christian Luchasaurus in which they continued their face campaigns. And then backstage, Renee was looking for Jade Cargill, but she ended up running into the baddies. The baddies couldn't find Nyla, who still has Jade's TBS title, and Jade is pissed off. She informed them that they're idiots because Nyla isn't there. But Kiera Hogan apparently found out that Nyla is going to be in Jacksonville for Rampage. So Jade says she's going to go out there and demand her title back and threaten Tony Khan, saying since Nyla is too much of a chicken shit to give her the title back herself, Jade will just hijack the show until Tony gets the belt back. That was a terrible slip. My apologies.
Well, I think it was perfect.
And I do want to shout out Jade Cargill here, rocking the Brandon Phillips Reds jersey. I do believe that is her partner, so that was a really nice touch, rocking that in Cincinnati. Also, he was a really good second baseman. So, but yeah, that was Dynamite. Yo, this was a fantastic show, I think, from top to bottom. Obviously, discounting everything that happened with Hangman, but these matches were great. We had the fantastic MJF promo. I think we got some really good stuff out of the BCC. James, I love this episode. It's been one of their best in a while, and definitely their best since All Out.
Definitely. We're on the road to full gear, and the gears are in motion.
Are they full?
Not quite yet. Not quite yet.
Lobby I could put you into to just send you
I have no regrets.
I found it. Go by.
Don't do
Cool.
That was such a bad joke. I'm gonna start putting people in timeout now that I could do that. Chad, were you as high on this Dynamite as I was?
Absolutely. 8.8 out of 10. The only thing that would have, if we didn't get the hang up at the end, it would have rolled by perfectly. But great episode.
Yeah. Danny, you as well, I imagine.
Yeah, pretty good overall. I'd say it's a pretty solid episode. I had some gripes here and there, but fun episode, went by quick. And just thank you, Rev, for What? Why is he back?
I
looked down for like 10 seconds. The rest of the episode's over.
I was put in the penalty box, but I'm back.
I didn't have enough time for a full 2-minute penalty, so the game ended in the end of the game in the box. Yeah, like I said, I love this. This was all great. We will continue to try to give you guys Hangman updates as we get them, but like we said, everything's kind of in motion here, so we're hoping for the best for him, whether it be a concussion or a stinger. From what I've been kind of seeing, it looks like it might be a concussion. So after watching the last few weeks of the NFL, hopefully they take this slow and I've learned some things from all of that. And they, and Hangman comes back when he's perfectly healthy. But on that note, that is the show, ladies and gentlemen. I want to thank you so much for watching. Be sure to like and subscribe. We haven't really done any of the things we said we were going to do. James needs to wrap. He did dye his beard, but James does need to wrap. We will get on that. I don't know what Danny's next threat is, but I'm sure he'll think of something. Be sure to check out all of our social media stuff. It will be in the description below. We got Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. Danny will get me the TikTok link at some point, so you can follow along with all of our stuff there. Especially we do live tweet some of the shows. I tend to live tweet the pay-per-views, so you can check all of that out there. And be sure to check out our other videos. We broke some news last week about Soraya, which was really cool. And we will have another episode coming out later this week. So for Danny Hernandez and Grayson, Chad Big Bad Johnson, and James Asante, my name is Nick Cummings. Thank you so much for watching, and we will catch you here next time on the Market Down Podcast. Have a good night, everybody. See, I got to do this thing now where I wait because it cuts off my ending if I don't wait long.
I'm just gonna keep waving then.
Yeah, just smiley wave, boys.